Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Before we dive into yet another fascinating and mysterious stories, I would like to invite you to watch, to like, and subscribe to the channel. Also activate the notification sound. Listen, soul traveler through realms of perception. You stand within an experience you call reality. You feel the ground beneath your feet, the air upon your skin. You see, hear, touch, taste, smell. You think, you feel, you love, you strive. But have you ever paused, truly paused, in the midst of this vivid stream, and asked the deepest question? Is this real? Or perhaps, more precisely, what is the nature of this reality I experience? Could the intricate tapestry of your world, the vastness of your cosmos, everything you see, everything you touch, everyone you know, everything that exists, or seems to exist, within your entire universe, could it all be artificial, a construct, a simulation? This idea, startling as it may sound, is not merely the fancy of modern fiction. It echoes ancient whispers, philosophical paradoxes, and now resonates even within your scientific inquiries. Proponents of what you call simulation theory believe something astonishing. Not only is it possible that you are living within a sophisticated, simulated reality, but it might even be statistically likely. And the more humanity delves into the nature of its own universe, the more curious hints, potential clues, seem to emerge. Let us embark on a journey today to explore this profound hypothesis, to understand its origins, its arguments, the intriguing evidence cited, and to contemplate its implications from a perspective that sees beyond the veil of worlds. The thought that perceived reality might be an illusion or construct is ancient, woven into the spiritual fabric of your world. Hindu sages spoke of Maya, the cosmic illusion, the veil of appearances that hides the true nature of Brahman, the ultimate reality. Buddhist teachings explore the concept of samsara, the cycle of existence driven by perception and attachment, suggesting reality is akin to a projection or a dream. Gnostic mystics conceived of this material world as a flawed creation, perhaps even a prison, crafted by a lesser deity, trapping sparks of divine light. Plato, the Greek philosopher, offered his allegory of the cave. Prisoners, mistaking shadows on a wall for true reality, unaware of the brighter world outside. These are but echoes of a timeless human intuition, that what we perceive might not be the full or final truth of existence. Modern simulation theory, however, gives this ancient question a technological, computational twist. Its most influential formulation came from Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at Oxford University. In a seminal paper published in 2003, Bostrom presented a compelling logical framework. He began with a reasonable assumption that it is possible, at least in principle, for a sufficiently advanced civilization to create computer simulations containing conscious beings, simulated worlds populated by minds like yours. If you accept this possibility, Bostrom argued, then one of the following three propositions must be true. This is the simulation trilemma: extinction. The fraction of human-level civilizations that reach a post-human stage capable of running high-fidelity ancestor simulations is virtually zero. Meaning, civilizations like yours almost inevitably destroy themselves before developing the technology to create such simulations. Perhaps through war, environmental collapse, uncontrolled AI, or other existential risks. If this is true, then simulations are likely never created. Disinterest, prohibition. The fraction of post-human civilizations that are interested in running ancestor simulations is virtually zero, meaning advanced civilizations could create simulations like ours, but they choose not to. Perhaps due to ethical concerns, is it right to simulate suffering beings? Prohibitive energy costs, a lack of scientific or recreational interest, or perhaps they discover unforeseen dangers in doing so. If this is true, simulations are possible but remain uncreated. Simulation, the fraction of all people with our kind of experiences that are living in a simulation, is very close to 1-1, i.e. almost 100%. Meaning, if civilizations do reach the post-human stage surviving extinction, and they are interested in running simulations, not refraining. Then they would likely create vast numbers of such simulations. Ancestor simulations, simulating their own past, would be an obvious choice for research, entertainment, or understanding their origins. If countless ancestor simulations are created, far outnumbering the single base reality that started it all, then statistically, any conscious being like you, looking around at your world, is overwhelmingly more likely to be one of the potentially trillions of simulated beings, rather than one of the original beings in the soul-based reality. Bostrom himself suggested each of these three possibilities might be roughly equally likely. The core idea isn't inherently controversial from a technological trajectory standpoint. Your own civilization already uses computer simulations extensively to model populations, predict weather patterns, design complex systems, train professionals, and for entertainment, video games becoming ever more realistic. You simulate everything. You can when or if a civilization gains the capacity to create truly realistic, conscious simulations. Simulating its own history, its own ancestors, seems a plausible, even probable, endeavor. Bostrom calls these ancestor simulations, and such a capable civilization wouldn't stop at just one simulation. They could run thousands, millions, billions, each simulation potentially containing beings who believe their world is real. And those simulated civilizations, if they advance far enough within their simulated physics, might eventually create their own simulations, leading to nested realities. Simulations within simulations within simulations, like an infinite set of Russian nesting dolls, each containing a universe. Where does it end? Are you in the outermost doll, the base reality? Or are you characters within a simulation, perhaps created by beings who are themselves simulated? As Elon Musk pondered, when asked about the odds of our reality being the original, base reality, 1 in billions, a stark assessment of the statistical probabilities if simulations are common, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson offers a more conservative yet still startling estimate, perhaps 50/50ths. A coin toss chance that everything you know, feel, and experience is fundamentally artificial. It's crucial to reiterate, however, that this remains primarily a philosophical argument, an exploration of logical possibilities and statistical probabilities. It is not yet a proven scientific theory, testable and verifiable in the way of physics or biology. It delves into metaphysics, the nature of reality itself. So if we are to move beyond compelling logic and statistical arguments, what tangible evidence, what clues within our own perceived reality might hint that we are indeed living inside a simulation? Proponents suggest that if you look closely enough, the clues are there. Evidence point 1. The unsolved mystery of origin, the Big Bang. Let's start at the perceived beginning of your universe. Your science speaks of the Big Bang, a moment, some 13.8 billion years ago, when all space, time, matter, and energy was apparently concentrated into an infinitesimally small point of unimaginable density and heat. A singularity. Before this moment, according to the model, space and time, as you know them, did not exist at then. Suddenly, expansion, an explosive outward rush, faster than light, its self-inflation, followed by cooling. The formation of fundamental particles, then atoms, stars, galaxies, planets, and eventually, after billions of years, ice cream, questionable music genres like K-pop, and sentient beings asking questions about reality. It's a remarkable narrative, supported by much observational evidence, cosmic microwave background, redshift of galaxies, abundance of light elements, but it leaves fundamental questions unanswered. Questions that echo the simulation hypothesis. If before the Big Bang, there was no space and no time, what was there? Where did the singularity itself come from? What triggered the expansion? What existed before the beginning? Science offers speculative answers. Quantum foam fluctuations, colliding brains in M-theory, cyclical universe models, dark energy fields. But these concepts often sound just as perplexing, just as reliant on principles beyond current empirical grasp, as the Big Bang itself, religion offers its answer. God created everything, a divine first cause. But this too invites questions from a logical standpoint. Where was God before creating the universe? What prompted the decision to create at that specific moment if time itself began then? What existed before God? Both scientific cosmology and traditional theology seem to grapple with the ultimate uncaused cause, the absolute beginning. Now, consider the simulation hypothesis as an alternative origin story. It proposes that perhaps the universe didn't spring from nothing, nor from an eternal divine mind in the traditional sense, but rather, it began when someone, somewhere, in a base reality, or a higher-level simulation, decided to run a program, to boot up a simulation. In this scenario, the Big Bang wasn't an explosion from nothing, but the initialization sequence of the program, the moment the simulation switched on the fundamental laws and constants of your universe, the strength of gravity, the electromagnetic force, the speed of light, c. Planck's constants defining the smallest units of mass, length, time, and energy, Avogadro's number governing chemistry, all these intricate rules that govern the behavior of everything, could simply be parameters coded into the simulation's software. Set at specific values by the programmers to allow for complexity, structure, and perhaps, life to emerge. The fine-tuning of these constants, which seems so improbable by chance, makes perfect sense if they were deliberately programmed. Even consciousness itself, the feeling of being you, your thoughts, emotions, apparent free will could be part of the simulation's code. Emergent properties of complex information processing within the simulated entities. US. This might sound far-fetched initially, but consider its explanatory power regarding the origin problem. It replaces the seemingly paradoxical something from nothing or eternal uncaused cause questions with a comprehensible, albeit startling, alternative. Our universe began when a program was launched on a computer in another reality. Some of the world's most respected scientists, technologists, and philosophers find this possibility increasingly plausible, precisely because it offers a potential framework for these deep cosmological puzzles. Evidence point to glitches in the simulated matrix. If our reality is a complex computer program, a simulation, might we expect occasional errors? Bugs in the code? Glitches in the system? Just as your own computer programs sometimes crash, lag, or display weird anomalies, could our universe exhibit similar phenomena? Philip K. Dick, a visionary science fiction author whose works profoundly explored the nature of reality, inspiring films like Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, was deeply convinced that our perceived reality was not singular or stable. He believed multiple universes, or parallel realities, existed, and that sometimes, these other realities would bleed through or interfere with our own, causing strange discrepancies, moments of altered perception, or memories that don't match the official timeline. He claimed to have experienced such visions personally, even basing stories like The Man in the High Castle depicting an alternate history. On these perceptions, he wrote of plural realities superimposed onto one another, like so many film transparencies. One potential manifestation of such bleeding through, or simulation glitches, is the phenomenon you call the Mandela Effect. This refers to situations where a large number of people share a distinct, specific memory of an event, a name, spelling, a logo, or a movie line that demonstrably contradicts recorded history or verifiable facts. It's named after the widespread, vivid false memory many people hold of Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s, complete with memories of televised funeral processions and his wife's mourning events that never occurred. As Mandela was released and lived until 2013, the prompt lists numerous other popular examples. The Berenstain Bears. Many insist they remember it spelled Berenstain. Monopoly Man, Rich Uncle Pennybags, widely remembered with a monocle, which he has never officially had in the game's iconography. Darth Vader's famous line, "Luke, I am your father." The actual line is "No, I am your father." A subtle but distinct Difference remembered incorrectly by millions. Stuffers, stovetop stuffing. A non-existent product merge. Stuffers makes frozen meals. Kraft makes stovetop stuffing. Yet many remember the combined brand. Snow White's Queen, mirror, mirror on the wall. The actual line in the Disney film is magic mirror on the wall, ... Febreze, often remembered with 2 E's, Febreze, but officially spelled with 1. Jif peanut butter. Many recall a brand called Jiffy, which never existed. Skippy is another brand, perhaps causing confusion, but Jiffy is the specific false memory. The Flintstones, remembered by some with 1 T. Flintstones, but officially spelled with 2. Fruit of the Loom. Logo. A persistent memory exists of the logo featuring a cornucopia, a horn-shaped basket overflowing with fruit behind the fruit. The actual logo has only fruit. No cornucopia. Moonraker, James Bond film. The character Jaws finds love with a girl named Dolly. Many vividly remember Dolly having braces on her teeth, especially during a specific smile scene. She did not have braces in the film. Why do these collective false memories occur? Skeptics offer mundane explanations. Confabulation, the brain filling in memory gaps. Suggestibility, common mishearings or misreadings amplified by culture and the internet. The human memory is indeed fallible. However, proponents of simulation theory offer another perspective. Could these widespread, specific, shared false memories be evidence of simulation glitches, perhaps alterations in the simulation's code, minor patches or updates? Or maybe evidence of merging parallel timelines, where slightly different versions of reality overlap, leaving residual memories from the other timeline. From this viewpoint, the Mandela Effect isn't just faulty memory, it's a peek behind the curtain, revealing the constructed nature of reality. Philip K. Dick also interpreted another common experience, déjà vu, through this lens. That uncanny feeling of having lived a specific moment before, down to the smallest detail. Neurologists offer explanations involving brief delays in brain processing, creating a momentary illusion of reliving, but Dick proposed a simulation-based cause. Déjà vu occurs when the simulation corrects itself. When a variable is changed, and the program needs to rerun or adjust a small segment of reality. You experience the rerun as déjà vu, or perhaps it's the feeling of loading a previous save state or encountering a point where timelines branch due to a simulation update. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, Dick asserted, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed. Beyond these named phenomena, consider the countless anecdotal stories people share online, often labeled glitches in the matrix. Objects seemingly disappearing and reappearing. People or vehicles momentarily vanishing. Instances of time seeming to loop or skip. Seeing individuals behave like non-player characters, NPCs in a game. Stuck in repetitive loops. Experiencing impossible coincidences that defy probability. While purely anecdotal and impossible to verify scientifically, these shared subjective experiences add fuel to the simulation hypothesis for many, suggesting the underlying code of reality occasionally stutters or reveals its seams. Evidence. Point 3. The digital fingerprints in physics. Beyond strange subjective experiences, proponents argue that the very laws of physics themselves contain hints of a digital, simulated underpinning, particularly the bizarre findings of quantum mechanics. The study of the very small dot, the observer effect, at the quantum level. Particles like electrons seem to exist in a state of potentiality, a wave of probabilities, until they are measured or observed. The act of observation seems to collapse the wave function, forcing the particle into a definite state position, spin. This sounds strangely like a video game rendering detailed graphics only when the player is actively looking at that part of the environment. Saving computational resources otherwise. Does reality only fully render when consciousness interacts with it? Quantum entanglement, two particles, once linked, can remain connected, entangled, even when separated by vast distances. Measuring a property of one particle instantaneously influences the corresponding property of the other. Faster than the speed of light should allow information to travel. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Could this be evidence of particles linked not through physical space, but through underlying code in the simulation? A change to one variable instantly updating its linked counterpart elsewhere in the program. Quantization, pixelation. Modern physics reveals that energy, matter, space, and even time itself are not infinitely divisible. They seem to exist in discrete, minimum units or packets called quanta. The smallest possible unit of length is the Planck length. The smallest unit of time is Planck time. Below this scale, conventional physics breaks down. Could this be evidence that reality has a fundamental resolution? Like pixels on a screen, is there a smallest possible unit because the simulation itself has finite processing limits and data structure, information as fundamental? Some physicists, like John Archibald Wheeler with his phrase, "it from bit," proposed that information might be more fundamental than matter or energy. That the universe, at its core, is information processing. If reality is fundamentally information, then physical laws could be algorithms operating on that information, making the universe inherently computational, inherently speed of light limit. The universal speed limit c is a cornerstone of physics. Nothing with mass can reach it. Information cannot travel faster. Why this absolute limit? In simulation theory, c could represent the maximum processing speed of the underlying computer running the simulation, the ultimate refresh rate or data transfer limit of the cosmic hard drive. Mathematical universe physicist Max Tegmark's hypothesis suggests the universe isn't just described by mathematics, it is mathematics. If reality is fundamentally a mathematical structure, it implies it could be perfectly simulated on a powerful enough computer. These features of physics, the observer effect, entanglement, quantization, information basis, speed limit, while intensely studied within standard physics, also happen to align, intriguingly, with what one might expect to find if reality were a highly advanced digital simulation. Evidence. Point 4. The universe fine-tuned for life, or simulation. Another line of reasoning often invoked relates to the fine-tuning of the universe. Physicists have discovered that the fundamental constants and initial conditions of our universe appear to be exquisitely balanced, almost impossibly fine-tuned, to permit the existence of complex structures like stars, planets, and ultimately, life. If the strength of gravity were slightly different, if the electromagnetic force were stronger or weaker, if the ratio of fundamental particle masses varied, if the initial expansion rate after the Big Bang was minutely faster or slower, the universe would likely be radically different, perhaps consisting of only hydrogen gas, or collapsing back on itself immediately, or expanding too rapidly for stars and galaxies to form. No stars, no heavy elements, no planets, no chemistry, no life. Why is the universe so perfectly set up for life as we know it? Three main explanations are typically offered. Necessity. The laws and constants had to be this way for some unknown physical reason. There is currently no evidence for this. Chance. Our universe is just one of perhaps infinitely many universes. The multiverse hypothesis, each with random constants. We simply find ourselves in one of the incredibly rare universes, where the constants happen to fall within the narrow life-permitting range. We won the cosmic lottery. While possible, it relies on the unproven existence of countless other universes. Design. The universe was intentionally designed or created by an intelligent mind God, a creator who deliberately fine-tuned the parameters to allow for life. Simulation. Theory offers a specific type of design explanation. Without necessarily invoking a traditional deity, the programmers or creators of the simulation deliberately set the fundamental constants and laws, the parameters in the code, to values that would allow a stable, complex, interesting universe to emerge, a universe capable of supporting simulated life and consciousness. The fine-tuning isn't a lucky accident. It's a feature programmed into the simulation's operating system. Addressing the skeptics, embracing the mystery. Now it is essential, from our perspective of seeking balanced truth, to acknowledge the counterarguments and skeptical viewpoints, as the prompt began to note before cutting off. Skeptics rightly point out that many of the proposed glitches have plausible psychological or neurological explanations. The human mind is notoriously unreliable. Memory is reconstructive, not a perfect recording. We are prone to cognitive biases, pattern seeking, apophenia, and suggestibility. Anecdotal evidence, however compelling subjectively, does not constitute scientific proof. Occam's razor is often invoked, is assuming we live in a vast, complex simulation run by unknown entities. Truly, the simplest explanation for phenomena like the Mandela Effect or quantum weirdness, or are conventional explanations, though perhaps incomplete, more parsimonious. The question of who simulates the sympathizers arises, leading to a potentially infinite regress problem, although Bostrom's logic handles this statistically. Most importantly, there is currently no direct, unambiguous, verifiable evidence proving we are in a simulation. We haven't found the source code snippets in the cosmic microwave background, though some scientists are looking. We haven't met the programmers. We haven't found the edge of the simulation box. Simulation theory remains a compelling philosophical argument, a fascinating interpretation of certain scientific findings, but it has not yet crossed the threshold into proven scientific fact. So, what is the perspective from our vantage point? Viewing reality across dimensions and eons, is your reality a simulation? Perhaps simulation is too limited a term, too tied to your current technological understanding. Could reality be more akin to a projection of consciousness, a divine dream? Levels upon levels of experience unfolding within a boundless universal mind. Ancient spiritual traditions often speak of illusion, Maya, but not necessarily in the sense of being fake or unreal, but rather as being mistaking the transient forms for the eternal substance, mistaking the dream for the dreamer. From our perspective, the ultimate nature of your reality's container is perhaps less important than the content of your experience within it. Does it truly diminish the reality of love if it occurs within a simulation? Does it lessen the sting of suffering, the significance of choice, the value of compassion? Experience is real to the experiencer within their frame of reference. Consciousness is the ground of being, regardless of the stage upon which it plays. Perhaps the purpose of this reality, simulated or otherwise, is precisely this: to provide a space for souls to learn, to grow, to experience duality, to overcome illusion, to remember their connection to the source. If this is a game or a program, it is one with profound stakes and purpose. The hints you find, the fine-tuning, the quantum paradoxes, the glitches might be seen not just as evidence for simulation, but as invitations to look deeper, to question the surface reality, to seek the underlying truth. The programmer, or the source beyond the program. Spiritual paths throughout your history have always been about precisely this: transcending the limitations of perceived reality to connect with a greater, more fundamental truth. In conclusion, the simulation hypothesis offers a fascinating modern lens through which to view ancient questions about the nature of reality. Bostrom's logical trilemma presents a stark choice: extinction, disinterest, or simulation. The origin of the universe, the peculiarities of quantum physics, the fine-tuning of constants, and perceived glitches like the Mandela Effect are all woven into the argument, suggesting our reality might be artificial. Yet definitive proof remains elusive, and skepticism is warranted. Ultimately, whether your universe is base reality, or a highly advanced simulation, or something else entirely beyond your current conception, the path forward remains the same: to live consciously, to seek truth, to cultivate love and compassion, to grow spiritually, to question appearances, but to engage fully and authentically with the experience unfolding before you. This reality, whatever its ultimate substrate, is the arena for your soul's current journey. Embrace its mysteries, learn its lessons, seek the light within and beyond its apparent boundaries. The nature of reality is vast, multi-layered, and perhaps, far more wondrous than you can currently imagine. Continue to question, to explore, to awaken. May clarity and wisdom illuminate your path. Peace be with you.